Alex Trebek wouldn't have wanted Jeopardy! Host controversy. When Alex Trebek died, it seemed Jeopardy! Had his replacement already lined up with Mike Richards. However, things from Mike's past prevented him from taking the role, and soon it went to Ken Jennings and Mayim Bialik. Then, Mayim was forced out, and the controversies never stopped until Ken was the last man standing. With that said, Ken spoke about all this and said that Alex never would have wanted any of it to happen. Here is what Ken had to say. Jeopardy! Struggled to find Alex Trebek's replacement. When Alex Trebek died in 2020, Ken Jennings had a chance to host the show and did a good job. However, then executive producer Mike Richards wanted the job and tabbed himself as the replacement. He never got the chance, since some bad things from his past were brought up online, and he had to pull his name out of the running. Mike ended up inviting several celebrities to host the show, including LeVar Burton, who was a fan favorite. However, the show ended up deciding to hire two new hosts. Ken Jennings and Mayim Bialik both took the job and split duties, with each taking on different parts of the season and different roles on the spin-offs. Things were not easy, though, and it seemed the show wanted to pick one or the other. When Bialik took the side of the striking writers and refused to work while they were on strike, the game show made its move. It didn't invite her back and made Ken Jennings the new full-time Jeopardy! Host. However, Ken says this was not something that Alex would have approved of. Ken Jennings talks Alex Trebek's wishes for Jeopardy! In an interview with Rolling Stone, Ken Jennings talked about the entire hosting carousel and the controversy that went on behind the scenes when it came to who would replace Alex Trebek on the show. You have to think Alex would not have loved the emphasis on multiple hosts, Ken said. People did see a bunch of different styles hosting Jeopardy! And they realized, oh, if it's Ken this week and it's Mayim next week, it's still Jeopardy! The show can survive not being the force of personality of one lovely man. Ken also admitted that the fans could see that the show was great no matter what. He also said that seeing all the different hosts trying to make it work showed how great Alex Trebek was at his job, doing it all on his own for decades. What are your thoughts on the entire hosting mess that followed Alex Trebek's death on Jeopardy! Do you think the show ended up finding the right person in the end? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For over 3 decades, Alex Trebek was more than just a quiz show host. He was a symbol of intellectual integrity, calm consistency, and quiet charisma. When he passed away in 2020, the void he left behind was as wide as the final Jeopardy! Board and just as difficult to fill. As Jeopardy! Scrambled to find a new host, a controversy unfolded that would have likely made Trebek shake his head, not out of anger, but disappointment. The late, beloved host once said, "I'm just the host of a game show, not a role model." But that statement belied the truth. Trebek was a role model, not because he tried to be, but because he stood for something rare in entertainment: humility paired with excellence. He guided contestants and viewers alike with his gentle authority, never upstaging the game or the players. He respected knowledge, not just for the points it could earn, but for the joy it could bring. So when the show was rocked by host-related drama, it felt like something sacred was being mishandled. And it's hard to believe Trebek would have approved of how his legacy was put at risk in the name of ratings, branding, or egos. A legacy mishandled. In the months following Trebek's death, Jeopardy! Tried an experimental approach, a rotating door of guest hosts. It was a move meant to honor Trebek's memory while also testing the waters for a permanent successor. Some of these guests were received warmly. Ken Jennings, a Jeopardy! Legend in his own right, brought familiarity and deep respect for the show. LeVar Burton inspired a passionate fan campaign. Anderson Cooper, Mayim Bialik, and even Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers all gave it a shot. But then came the twist no one saw coming. Jeopardy! Executive producer Mike Richards selected. Mike Richards. The internal promotion, announced amid minimal fanfare and maximum confusion, was quickly eclipsed by past allegations of workplace misconduct and resurfaced podcast comments that clashed with the show's wholesome image. The backlash was swift and unforgiving. Within days, Richards stepped down. The damage, however, lingered. Through all the chaos, one question echoed louder than the final Jeopardy! Music. What would Alex have thought of all this? Trebek's quiet compass. Alex Trebek wasn't flashy. He didn't trend on Twitter for hot takes or dramatic flair. His gift was the ability to make a show about facts and trivia feel like a safe, special place where curiosity was king and arrogance had no seat. When asked who should replace him, Trebek once suggested someone like CNN's Laura Coates, someone who could connect with people, bring gravitas and warmth, and let the game shine. He didn't want drama. He didn't want the spotlight hijacked. And he certainly didn't want the audience to question the show's moral compass. Trebek would have wanted a transition that felt seamless, respectful, and above all, dignified. Instead, what fans witnessed was a mess, a controversy not driven by intellect or merit, but by backroom decisions and PR crises. For a show that built its reputation on precision and clarity, the host's search felt strangely opaque. Why it hurt so much? The truth is, fans of Jeopardy don't just watch for the trivia. They watch because the show means something. It's a comforting constant in a noisy, unpredictable world. Trebek was the anchor, the calm in the storm, the smart voice in the background who never had to yell to be heard. The host's controversy broke that illusion. Suddenly, Jeopardy was part of the same pop culture chaos as every other show. Suddenly, people had to wonder if the game they loved was losing its soul. This isn't about blaming the showrunners, the temporary hosts, or the audience. It's about acknowledging that something precious was mishandled. It's about realizing that Trebek's shoes weren't just hard to fill, they were sacred. His legacy wasn't about ratings. It was about respect. The path forward. Today, Jeopardy continues with a dual-host format, Ken Jennings and Mayim Bialik, though scheduling and audience reception remain works in progress. Jennings, in particular, has been praised for channeling the humility and love of the game that Trebek embodied. And that might be the best outcome. A host who treats Jeopardy not as a stepping stone, but as a destination. If we've learned anything from the host drama, it's that the spirit of Jeopardy is fragile. It's easy to take it for granted, to assume the brand will endure, no matter how rocky the road. But fans know better. They know the show thrives when its core values are honored: intelligence, fairness, grace. Alex Trebek wouldn't have wanted applause. He wouldn't have wanted to be canonized. But he also wouldn't have wanted the show he nurtured for 37 years to be mired in controversy. He would have wanted it to rise above. In an old interview, Trebek said, "If you want to be considered a decent human being, you have to be decent." That simple wisdom still holds. And maybe, just maybe, the best way to honor his legacy is to remember that Jeopardy isn't just a game show. It's a tribute to decency, curiosity, and quiet excellence. Let's treat it that way. If you'd like a shorter version or one with a different angle, more humorous, dramatic, or critical, I can do that too.